Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. ICast 2022, day 2 here. It's Thursday. We got some exciting stuff coming from the booth. We're going to kick off the day with our man, Stewart Venable. We're going to be talking about the quick disconnect rudder system. Stewart, why don't you just give us a run through of the ease of use of the rudder, and then we'll jump into maybe like ways you would utilize it on the water.
Yeah, sure. So the modular system that we've created to kind of go with our platform, customers have been asking for it a long time. So here it is. We spent a lot of time developing this, getting it right. Ease of use is a big thing for our owners, and this is no different than that. So we've got the quick connect system here. You can have this thing on and off in no time. It makes it really nice if you're swapping out, different modes of propulsion or different accessories. So the big thing for us is having a quality product that fits in line with the system. We've got foot steer. You can use it in conjunction with like the XI3 that we've got here. So just to open up a more, user-friendly option and experience for our owners.
Yeah. And I know there's been a lot of questions like, is there a way to make it just a skeg versus like a full-on rudder?
Yes. So we actually got, we're adding some products, a product to this where you can literally have it up as a fixed skeg. If you were just paddling, say you're using it in river or current, it allows it to be more of a fixed skeg than a rudder as far as for steering.
And for those that may not know, what would a skeg do versus a rudder?
So rudder, it gives you the option for more steering left, right. A fixed rudder is, it basically maximizes your paddle in current, in wind. If you're paddling across a current, if you're dealing with a high amount of wind and you're trying to keep that boat tracking very straight, very fast, that skeg is crucial to be able to do that.
Well, one thing I know I liked about this when I saw it come out is that you could fully retract it and pull it back into the boat. You want to just kind of show the folks how that all works?
Sure. So we've obviously got our retract cable here. It allows you to not only pull it up, but you can pull it into the boat as well. Say you are using it like I would in a river situation where you're trying to get down current, you've got to lay down or, a log or a shoal that you're trying to navigate through. So it allows you to pull it up, get it out of the way. You're not getting it hung on, a strainer, which obviously we know is not good.
Yeah.
You're not tearing it up on rocks or getting it hung up on a lay down. So it does give you a little more versatility, but also safety.
Right on. Yeah, and that's key. Like Stewart said, I mean, he's a river king. He's been fishing rivers. He's known for that, So, I mean, it's super essential. And I know, that was one of the key things that you had brought up when this whole thing was coming about, the safety aspect.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough to test some of the really early iterations, the prototypes for this. And, I actually, my test, if you will, was I wanted to take the F12 into some pretty fast water.
Yeah.
As awesome as the F12 is, there are some challenges with a boat that large in fast water. And I figured, if it passes that test, safety, where I can maneuver that big boat through some pretty swift current, that gives me the ability to, do more that otherwise I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable doing because of having that as an option.
Sure. Very cool, man. Anything else that people should know or be aware of when it comes to the rudder system?
Yeah. So it is an incredible, well-made product. And in a lot of cases you're dealing with aftermarket, a rudder or a skeg where you're trying to adapt it to what you have, trying to make it work. And this being designed purely for new canoes, it's going to be, sturdy. It's not going to be an afterthought. It's going to be made to go with the product you've invested a lot of money in. And we've got one thing that's unique. We were kind of thinking about this as far as the skeg option. You don't always want it really far down. Sometimes you need it up tight to the boat itself. So we've actually got it adjustable here. So you can lock it at different heights based off of how you're going to use it. So again, it may not seem like a big thing until you need that finite adjustment.
Yep.
And then there again, it's just honoring the investment you guys have made. We're trying to pack as much as we can into the product to make it not only safe, but as usable as possible for a wide range, because not everybody's in a river, not everybody's doing the same thing. So, the capability for the quick disconnect, obviously, to be able to use even with steer was huge.
Sure.
Hands-free is a big thing.
Yeah.
So just trying to pack as many features as we can into a product to really, honor that investment from the customer, but also, maybe open up a new aspect of fishing or make it more enjoyable that maybe they couldn't do in the past.
Right. Very cool, man. Super slick system. Guys, this is available at all your dealers right now. You can get it online at newcanoe.com. It's shipping, it's in stock, ready to rock, and it's set up, especially if you're a river guy. It's essential. Or out on the saltwater too, right?
I love it inshore. I love it in the rivers. It's kind of a do it all.
Yeah.
I would say it's definitely a very, very crucial accessory for a lot of our owners.
Yep. And I know a lot of guys that are running the XI3 like this boat has right now, and they're keeping their motor straight and they're steering with the rudder, with the foot steer. So you're a little more hands-free that way, and you're utilizing that time with your lure in the water, giving you a better success rate to catch more fish.
For sure.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll be back around 10 o'clock with Ray Martinez. We're going to be talking about the Honda outboard motor and fishing with kids on the water. So we'll see you guys shortly. Welcome back, everybody. ICast 2022. We're live here in the Nuke booth. I got my man Ray Martinez in the booth next to me. We're going to talk about the Honda outboard. We don't have one set up in here right now, but I know we always get questions about it, right? So Ray's the guy to talk to. You utilize it all the time. And then we're going to transition to fishing with kids because you spend a lot of time on the water with your boys, so which is super cool. So I want to get into that because that always comes up when we're talking new canoes in the shop, right? Like you always get those dads that come in and they're like, I want a boat that I could take out by myself, but also take my kid with. So that's something that's always special here, man. So let's talk about the Honda first, man. Like, when did you start using it? Why do you use it? And why do you like using it?
Oh, yeah, man. So, I mean, obviously, we want to go further and further every time we're fishing. Sometimes you've paddled to your reaches, right? So I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go further than that. Or I know that if I go to this range, by the time I get back, my shoulder's going to be blown out or the wind is just way too strong to paddle against. So sometimes those elements come into play. And, me being the guy that I am, wanting to get out there and still fish. The weather wasn't going to keep me off the water. There's always a little windbreak somewhere that you can get to and, catch those fish and get on them pretty good. So decided, hey, this Honda sounds like a great idea. New Canoe makes it extremely easy to put any motor on the back of your kayak. So it was just a relationship and a marriage that was just waiting for me to jump into. So I had the New Canoe already, had the F12, love the F12. Threw the outboard on there, and it's been life-changing. I've gone so many places and further than I've ever thought I could ever go on a kayak, which blows my mind. I mean, I'll be out in places sometimes, I'll see boats, and they're looking at me like, how in the heck, or who are you, or what is that? Like, I'm like, you need one of these. They're like, man, that's a cool rig. I can't hear it enough, because every time I'm out there, I see somebody that's on a boat that never seen a kayak in that area. So I think it's really cool. And there's part of the real reason of getting it is just taking on the elements, going further, and then also bringing my kids, as we mentioned earlier. I'll bring them on, but not have the strength to paddle as far as I normally would by myself. For sometimes they pull the boat down a little much in the front, so it's a little harder to navigate and get through the water that way. But with the outboard, it makes it really easy to take one of your kiddos with you and push y'all through, and then to get to those places. Also coming back up river, if you're doing a little boomerang trip, you're not paddling that current, you're blowing that current out with that outboard, and you're able to scoot right up river. So it makes it really, really easy and a lot more fun sometimes, because you're not tired at the end of the day or worn out. You just got a lot of fish, and it's a good time.
Well, and the Honda's like super fuel efficient too, right? Like you mentioned distance, right? And whenever you talk to kayak guys, they're like, how fast can it go and how far can I go? So like, what's your range on that?
Man, I honestly have gone about 6 miles on one tank of gas. And that's just kind of low rolling it, not high output, just kind of getting through there. And it's super fuel efficient. Most times I bring a small 1 gallon with me, and that's really all I need. I don't even go through all my fuel, and I can go as far as I need to. If I want to bring a 2 gallon with me, talk about all day, man. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. You bring a tent. You'll be camping somewhere, man. Got my own little chickie built out of a kayak. But no, it's so efficient and so and quiet for what it is. It's not extremely loud. It's not like some mud motor you got in the back of your thing, so you can still have a conversation. with whoever you're on the boat with, and just not be annoyed completely by the noise. So it's nice to have, man, and it's super fuel efficient. You can go anywhere you want.
No, the quiet thing is huge, man. Because I know I got a good friend of mine. We go duck hunting, right? And he puts a 3-horse mud motor on the back of his boat, and I'm like, huh? What'd you say? Like, and we're right next to each other, man. And those Hondas are super quiet, per like a kitten, right?
Oh, meow, you know. That's awesome. No, but seriously, you mentioned duck hunting as well, and that's actually something I do as well. And that was another facet and reason why I got the 2.3, man. It's quiet, it's efficient. I can go through those sludgier waters that happen to have that grass and whatnot. I can push right through those real easy. It's got the torque for it. I actually pulled a boat back one day with my kayak. I literally, yeah, it was awesome. They were kind of out of gas, and I was right where they were. And I guess they didn't bring enough gas, or I don't know what happened.
Sure.
Was able to pull that boat back. I think 2 miles is what I pulled them back, all with the outboard, tugging that thing about. Pretty cool. I didn't have a video of it at all, but I wish I did, man. It was really cool, man. I was just focused on getting everything back and getting everything safe.
That's boat owners look a shame when they're hanging there when a kayak's got to pull them back to the ramp. Right?
Yeah, no, heck yeah. It was actually funny. But the funny thing is, it's just like a small duck boat, so it's not like some yacht that I was toting out in the middle of the water, but it's still kind of cool. Very cool to be able to do that and say I did that on a new canoe of all things, right?
For sure, man. For sure. I mean, what is the biggest question you get around the outboard? Because I'm sure you get a lot of questions. You're in Texas. People see you ripping around. What are the biggest questions or concerns that guys may have about putting an outboard on the back of their new canoe?
Yeah, oftentimes, like you kind of mentioned already, is how fast does it go? How long does it last? And really, how light is it? How heavy is it? And that's another thing I've covered, that it's extremely light. You don't feel like even when you're moving it and transporting it around. I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'3". So if I feel like I can do it, anybody can do it, right? So you can move that motor around really efficiently and effectively. It doesn't put a lot of weight on your boat. You don't feel like you're hauling extra weight just because of the outboard. So yeah, those are the main questions I get, and they're pretty easy to answer most of the times. It goes plenty fast, and it gets you right where you need to go, or even further. I don't think many people go that far oftentimes when they're fishing, because if you're fishing effectively, you're probably catching them within that range anyways. But let's just say it's stacked full of boats. You happen to end up on Sam Rayburn on a tournament weekend, which I happened to go on one day. It was I didn't know there was I should have checked, but I show up to Sam Rayburn and there's a 300 boat tournament or more, probably at least 600 boats on the water. That it's a huge lake. I'm sitting there like, well, where can I go that hasn't been beat? I'm a kayaker. I got to get there. So I was able to take that mud motor and scoot to a spot that literally most boats couldn't get into, but a kayak could, and made it work. And so it's a really fuel efficient, awesome tool. And it's changed the fishing game for me and the duck hunting game for me. So I love it. I'm absolutely a big fan of Honda.
Yeah. No, I dig it, man. I dig it. So transferring off that, man, and you mentioned it's key for like when you take your kids out on the water. And I know you, man. You're a family man. I've seen you spending time with your family here at the show this year. Super cool. But like I said at the beginning, like when I'm working at the shop, right, I always get that dad that comes into the shop and he's like, I want that kayak that I can convert between one person and two people. And we're always pointing them to the new canoe. It's either a Frontier 12 and Unlimited or whatever it may be. But like, super cool that you've gotten your kids into the sport. They love it, and it's a great way to have that father-son bond or father-daughter bond. Like I'd take my daughter out kayak fishing sometimes, So like what's been super cool and unique about the fact that you could take it out with you?
Yeah, man. Originally back in the day, I had a different kayak that wasn't a stand-up kayak. It wasn't an angling kayak. It was a paddler's kayak, which is great. Once the game started going more towards these stable platforms for anglers to stand up and fish, I saw that. But what I really saw wasn't so much of the fishing ability. It was the comfort and security that I had about putting another person in the boat with me. At the time, my boys were really young, and I had a dog that I took with me often. So I wanted to take him out. He was my test dummy first, my trial partner. So poor guy, but I mean, he could swim. He was a small heeler, so he wasn't very big. Put him on the kayak, saw that he was stable enough for him to walk around. So I automatically enjoyed that, being able to take my dog with me. As the boys started to get a little older, I said, this is definitely a boat that I feel comfortable with them on. Put them on the boat, and I haven't looked back since. We've gone on countless trips where I don't ever worry about them falling over or tipping out of the boat. My oldest is now 12 years old. I feel like he's been paddling the Flint too, so he can, the boats are so stable and so comfortable that he's able to paddle on his own, and I can have my 9-year-old on the boat with me, tandem on the F12, and we're able to go together, and all together. My one's paddling, and there's a tandem boat there, so it's really cool to get us all out, and then eventually that he'll have his own boat. But even if they don't want to, I'll always have the room and the space and comfort inside of a new canoe where we can be together on the boat comfortably, no matter how big or tall they get, because they're going to be taller than their dad. But I've done it with friends, buddies that don't have boats, and honestly, I like taking a buddy with me, because in a kayak, there's not a whole bunch of space, so you stay really close. Sure. You have the conversation, you're fishing together, and you're on a tandem boat that is perfectly capable of doing that, but you still are kayak fishing, so you can still go where a kayak goes. You can get as skinny as you want, and it's just the same adventure without having to buy into a big boat or something like that. So I love that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it makes it super affordable. I mean, you look at boat prices and gas prices right now, and they're just ridiculous. Yeah. Whereas, with the kayak in the setup you got, again, we talked about the fuel efficiency with the Honda, which is key, especially with fuel prices today. When you're talking about running 12 miles on a gallon of gas, it's pretty impressive. But for those guys out there, right, and they're on the fence, like, I don't know if I can take my kid kayak fishing, or what are some of the concerns or like hurdles that you faced with fishing with the kids? Like, do you got to tell them to calm down, quit jumping around, like, things like that, man?
Yeah. So you're taking the kids out. There's always the aspect of making sure that they're safe. Yep. And also, as an angler, you always want to make sure that you're safe. Sending them on the boat, you have to kind of set some ground rules. Hey, these are hooks. These hurt. I actually let them touch the hooks with the finger. Like, hey, that look, you touch it like that, it already starts to go in. You make a sudden move, do something funny, fall. You could fall on a hook. It could get really dangerous. So just be careful. Keep that in mind. Always make sure you know where your hooks are. That's always a big deal, because no matter what, that's the number one factor on a boat, right? And the cast aspect is learning where your partner is and on the boat and how to cast. Always look back. So you're watching for those hooks. It's just a big deal. And I think we all have known that as an angler. Most of us have gotten hooked, or fishing with a buddy, we've gotten hooked by a buddy. Probably don't take that buddy out much anymore, but but it's your kid, you kind of stuck with them, right? So, and you want them to grow and be better and keep others safe. And as they grow into their future, or as an angler or whatever it is, that they know those rules and it kind of sticks with them. But yeah, just staying safe about the hooks, and then also keeping the hands in the boat. Let's keep the hands in the boat. Let's make sure, because at any time the rocks and rapids can take you somewhere on the river. If you're on a river, I'm a river paddler myself. We'll go down river. So you want to keep those hands in the boat so nothing gets cut, smashed, or broken off, or something crazy. And then also keeping the center of the boat. Stay centered. Obviously, we're in a new canoe. You're going to be in a very stable platform, but stay centered. Keep a wide base when you're standing. And then also no quick movements, because there's two of us, right? So I'm standing up doing this and you jump up, I'm going to jolt off. Or if I'm leaning on the side or something to that effect, it's just all about the awareness on the boat. And then also just have a good time, enjoy it, have fun. Get out and swim if you have the time, and then bring plenty of snacks. Always bring plenty of snacks. They'll eat them all in the first hour, like mine do. Oh man, they eat them all in the first hour. And always hold some reserve. That's the key. That when they think they got them, and then you're like, oh, they'll go, Dad, I'm tired, or I'm like, oh, we got another mile left and we're out, And most times they don't, but sometimes they do. It's hot in Texas. I'm like, well, did you want some more of these? So we pull out the extra things, and bring some. My kids were really young, so I'd bring a couple of toys with them, some like kind of water toys, so they get to splash their dolphin in the water, their shark, and like, oh, it's actually in the real water. I'm like, yeah, put it in the fish's mouth. Look at my toy. It's a Cinco, or it's a swim bait, or crankbait. So yeah, it's just a way for them to have fun, and also give them my extra bait so they can feed them to their little shark or something. So it just makes it fun. Sometimes you got to get real granular, and you wouldn't expect that to kind of be the case on the water, but it's a lot of fun. And as they progress, it just becomes a natural thing for them.
Sure. Well, not only that, man, you're making memories for a lifetime, right? I think that's the biggest thing. Like there's memories I look back on fishing with my dad growing up, like it, and I've tried to do that with my kids as well. And it's something that like they may not cherish right away, but when they get older like us, dude, it's like something you always reflect back on, and it definitely hits close to home and holds close to the heart. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And the conversations that you have out there, there's no distractions really, right? There's beauty in nature. And those are maybe the distractions. But those are the distractions I want them seeing. I want them looking at the birds. I want them seeing the trees. I want them looking at, oh, look at the different types of fish, or maybe there's some wildlife or some deer on the sides. And in between all those beautiful things, you're able to have deep conversations, meaningful conversations. Let's talk about what your challenges are at school, or let's talk about what makes you happy, or maybe you don't have to fish, but this is a good time for you to just kind of get out and explore and understand and appreciate the world that we live in. And there's a bigger picture than those concrete buildings and whatnot that are there. Just giving them both balances of each aspects of life, and so they can make those decisions and have that form. But really, the time spent on the water, as you said, is so memorable and so cherishable. I don't think anybody could deny that, and I think most people could even say that, even if they're not fishers. I hear so many people talk about, like, my great granddad or my grandpa was a fisherman, and I wish I would have just fished with them a little more. And there's even songs, you have that time to you cancel that bass trip, but dad really wanted to do it, and there was value in that, and there was so much fun in that. And whether or not you were the angler, there was so many things that just create you as a person out there and make you a better person, I feel like.
I agree with that 100%, man. It's huge, and I cherish those trips out anytime I can still go with my old man, go with my kids now, and not only that, but you mentioned something when you were talking about like teaching the kids, like, pay attention to where your hook is and stuff like that. And I've seen my kids like gone out fishing and they're teaching their friends that, and it's educating those young brains at a young age, so that way it develops. And then, they're like, hey man, we should go fishing. This is a lot of fun. And then they're teaching that, and it just continues on through the generations, and it keeps our sport alive, which is cool.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the friend situation there. I think that's really cool. Yeah, they're teaching their buds, or later on in life, they find other angler kids that had similar backgrounds with their fathers. And that, honestly, some of my best friends today I met in angling, and it's partly because we started there. We still do it now, but we hold those memories. Like we have that same feeling still. And that's probably why, a lot of us here at New Canoe have that relationship. It's a family, because I think a lot of us had that background, and we see that. And just like we're talking here, I'm learning things about your childhood and you and how it kind of came about. So yeah, it's all it's all circular. It all comes together, man. Nice. I love it.
For sure, man. Any last thoughts, things you want to throw out there for the good folks at home, man?
Oh man, just get out as much as possible. Enjoy it. One day at a time is all we get. And so if you got the time to do it now, do it now. Don't wait a week or a month or a year. Just do it today. Get out there today and have some fun. And it's going to maybe be challenging, but that's part of the adventure, and enjoy it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll be back at 11 o'clock with Jordan May. We're going to talk about fishing inshore, offshore, in the unlimited, and how he utilizes that. And we're just going to continue on through the day. If you guys notice, we're wearing these River Wolf T-shirts. Our boy River Wolf, that's our theme of the day today. So we're going to have a special segment this afternoon. I highly encourage you guys to tune in on that. I know on all the Unlimited podcasts, I've been talking about it, giving updates as we're getting updates about Sonny, and kicking butt. He's getting better and better. And we're just praying, fighting for him, keeping him in our positive thoughts. And, he's usually here every year. And last year was the first time I ever got to meet him in person. And he's a stand-up. So,
yeah, I love Wolf, man. That's my boy. Sonny. One of the most genuine, awesome people I've ever met, and just passing by and just meeting, and one day you can fall in love with that guy. He's a great person, man. Prayers out to him, and he's fighting a good fight, and wish him all the best.
Heck yeah, man. All right, guys, we'll see you here shortly, about 11 o'clock. We're going to talk a little saltwater fishing with our guy Jordan May, fishing out of the Unlimited, and we'll see you guys then. just keep staying tuned for the rest of today. We got shows pretty much every hour or every other hour. So we'll see you guys here in a little bit. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. ICast 2022. We're here at the New Canoe booth. I got Jordan May right next to me. Lives in the area down here, down in Florida. Utilizes the Unlimited quite a bit in the saltwater setting, both inland and offshore. So we're going to get his take on it, how he utilizes it. So, I mean, Jordan, why don't you give us a little background? Because we've never had you on the actual podcast. So, like, where you're from, the type of fishing you do, and how long you've been in a new canoe.
How's it going, guys? So I actually grew up in New England, was a striper fisherman, a mate on a striper boat my whole life, did a lot of commercial fishing, scallops, oysters, stuff like that. We did a lot of bass fishing up there. I've been fishing out of a new canoe now for about 15 years. Used to have bass boats, used to do a lot of tournaments in those, and when we got moved over, I started doing the kayak fishing. Messed around with it, actually used it more for hunting up there than I ever did. A lot of duck hunting, stuff like that. And when I finally decided that I was done fishing in New England, I came to Florida because that's the promised land of fishing, right? That's where you go. And I got back into a kayak down here. I started realizing that I really liked the saltwater game down here. I really liked flats fishing. So a lot of the water I was looking at, the fish was so shallow. I felt the kayak was going to be the better way to go with it. So, yeah, started doing that. And then I fell in love with red fishing. And basically 90% of the time I'm in it, I'm looking for redfish. And we started messing around, doing a little bit offshore. You know, some videos, me and Everett went out. We got some mahi, got some nice tuna, did some bottom fishing. So it's been really good. And when the Unlimited came out, I was super happy with it. I was always an F12 guy. I ran a Pursuit for a while, but basically always went back to the F12, and I absolutely loved that platform. Did a lot of fly fishing. So the openness of it would allow me to not get my line snagged on everything constantly. I could take all the little hooks off and basically bare bones the boat. But when the Unlimited came out, I was really excited about the drainage because offshore you can take, especially punching through the surf, take a lot of water in. And I mean, that thing just drains so well. It's literally like the driest boat I've ever been in. Like that thing can fill with water and it's just gone. So punching through the surf with it, that became probably once the Unlimited came out is when I actually started actively fishing the offshore end of things. It just was a much better boat for me. And my biggest struggle down here has always been the wind and the currents a lot of times. So you can get into some strong winds, especially in that afternoon. Sight fishing, the wind would just kill you on it. And you got to go a long distance sometimes. So I was very fair weather to it for quite a bit. And now that we got the EPS system on it, the Newport Vessels EPS, I don't have to worry about it because, for instance, there's a spot I fish. It's about 3 miles to the other side. If I get a strong east wind, I'd have to paddle against that to go over there to find a leeward side of some flats to start looking. So, kind of start to, you don't know if you really want to do it. So, but now even just bite through the chop with it, fire that thing up. I really like how I can know my range with it, know my battery percentage. I'm not constantly guessing. I had run some pretty basic tiller systems with a deep cycle marine in the back. Man, you'd be out still 2 miles away sometimes and out of power, So,
yeah. No, it's interesting, man. Like, I just experienced my first saltwater trip. I just told you that. And that was Monday. And I've never fished tide before, right? I live in the Midwest. We don't have tides up there. So it was interesting because the guide's like, I know there's always snook up here, but the tide had gone out. So it was low tide. And there was some areas up in there where we could see fish busting, but we couldn't get to them because we were in our big 22-foot boat. And I was like, this is where the kayak comes into play. So it's interesting. Like, maybe talk a little bit about the tides and how that works with you in a kayak and stuff.
So, every spot's a little different, but like you said, saltwater fishing, 90% of it's very tide dependent. I mean, people say, let's go fish this spot. And I say it all the time, especially with my red fishing. I got locked into the tide. Let's wake up at 6 a.m. and go. No, let's get up at 10 and go. They're like, man, it's midday. I'm like, right, but their tide's not right at 6 a.m., so they're not going to bite anyways. So we do a lot of that, but there's a lot of tidal areas like that, like you said, you can't get to by boat, and they'll flood sometimes, and these fish can get in. There's drainage pipes that can allow them in and out of there. And actually, a lot of these fish just live back there, and they'll deal with that low tide. They'll find a deep hole, but some of the best spots I fish down here, I've never seen a person in because they get. It might be 100-foot drag through a trail that you had to beat yourself on and then relaunch the kayak, but and then you get to these areas and they're maybe the size of this booth. You poke through a little hole in the mangroves and there's just these lakes back there, just these giant lakes, and they're very, very productive. And you can just never get there any other way. So
right on, man. It's super cool. Like I said, it's super fascinating to me because I don't deal with it or see it all the time. And it was interesting because I could see how effective a kayak would be versus, that boat setting. For somebody that's like maybe never fished saltwater inland or offshore out of a kayak, like what would be some recommendations that you give? I'm sure one of them is going to be watching those tides and stuff, but like as far as gear, things they should watch out for and stuff like that, man.
Yeah, I mean, always carry an anchor with you, especially dealing with tide. You ever get in trouble or not? I don't want to say in trouble, but you ever get tired or anything? I mean, I've been in some, before the EPS, I was in some situations where, you're paddling to get back against this tide and this wind comes in the same direction and you can't take a break because you stop and you've lost all your ground. So always carry something to anchor with and make sure that you have enough rope or whatever your anchor system may be to accommodate the water you're in. I mean, that's probably the biggest thing to me because it can be very, very daunting situation. Sometimes you don't have a lee side to get to, anything like that. And obviously you always have your PDF with you. Tide can be, dangerous, heavy currents and stuff like that. That's really it. I mean, just be smart about where you're going, kind of know your ground. We have all kinds of sources now with Google Earth and everything that you can really plan, a good route. And then local knowledge. I mean, people, especially when it comes to safety, generally don't shy away from, giving you the information you need to say, hey, don't go down there at high tide because you'll never get back at low. You'll get stuck. I mean, you can get stuck places. The tide goes down too far and, drag with a kayak, you can usually drag it over, but you can easily get stuck somewhere and it's 6 hours before you get a chance to get back out. So.
And that's funny because we were talking with the guide. We were out Monday and she said a sailboat got stuck back in a channel. And they tried to help the guy get off there, couldn't get him off, and he had to basically wait for high tide. So it makes sense. But like that anchor thing, like I've talked to a couple guys on the team and other podcasts that talk about saltwater, and they've never mentioned the anchor with the rope. And that's a great thing. Like, I mean, it's a no-brainer, you would think, but I mean, I wouldn't have thought of that. Yeah. So
the nice thing about inshore down here is you're pretty close to everything typically, inshore river fishing, especially down the Indian River Lagoon where I do a lot of it. There's houses, there's businesses, marinas and everything typically are not that far to reach, but yeah. And then down here, water, always carry extra water. I mean, I've been in some situations where you get really far back and it gets hot down here quick and you dehydrate quick. So that's one thing I forgot one day, my water, and I'll never do that again. That's always top priority.
There's one thing I learned about Florida, and I learned it last year when we were here for ICast, is I could drink 7 bottles of water, and I'll sweat 7 bottles of water out just as fast as I took it in. So, no, it's super cool, man. Final thoughts on just utilizing the unlimited and the inland offshore, fishing game.
So people constantly ask me, like, why don't you just get a boat? Wouldn't it be easier, have more space than just a boat? Sometimes. I mean, space is obviously your biggest restrictant on a kayak and storage and everything, but I've become pretty effective on what I bring for gear to know what I'm going to need for the day. Targeting one thing and not having to bring a lot. And unfortunately, maybe you're not prepared for a different situation, but have a target, a goal for the day. And it's just, I was just explaining to someone else, like, it's just a better tool for what I like to do. So like when you said about getting places, a lot of the water we fish is less than a foot deep, and you just physically can't fish it with a boat. So, kayak becomes almost your only option. And once you get into it and you do it, it's very peaceful. It's very it's a different experience, and yeah, I don't know. I just fell in love with it. So, and like I said, the Unlimited has been. I was really excited. I was partially involved with watching the development of that and everything, and getting to have some input on it, and super excited. So, with that kayak and.
Right on. Yeah, right on, man. I mean, the drainage thing is huge, I know, for you guys. And I mean, they really hit it out of the park when they designed the deep channel system, the extra scupper plugs, which is huge compared to the F12, right. And a lot of guys rant and rave about it. So, Jordan, I appreciate you sitting down, chatting with us. Guys, gals watching, we'll be back at 1 o'clock. We got these River Wolf Legacy T-shirts on. 1 o'clock, talk about our man River Wolf. We've been given updates on his status through all the Unlimited podcasts. He's a huge part of the team, and he's very much missed here at ICast 2022. He was here last year, and it was like right after that is when he started going through some of his health problems. So a bunch of the team guys are going to get around. We're going to share some River Wolf stories and why he has a legacy if you don't know who River Wolf is. And we'll go from there. But we'll see you guys back here about 1 o'clock at the New Canoe booth here at ICast 2022. Thanks, guys. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the New Canoe booth here at ICast 2022. The theme of the day has been River Wolf as a tribute to our good friend, who fell under illness after last ICast. I had the pleasure of meeting him for the first time ever last year down here at ICast. Super cool dude. Love the guy. So we're going to go around and kind of explain who River Wolf is, why he's such a unique individual, and what better guys to do it than Jordan May, Ray Martinez, and Stewart Venable. And we're going to get Blake in here too as soon as he gets done talking. But just tell some stories and explain, because I know a lot of New Canoe fans out there may not know who he is, but has seen him in like some of the social media posts and photos and videos and stuff like that. And everybody's seen that epic video that they shot of River Wolf, man. I've watched that probably 10 times since I met the guy. Like, it's just so cool. But we're going to turn it over to Jordan May. He's going to kick us off. He's a really good close friend with River, and then these guys are going to pass the mic around and kind of share some stories and different things on why Sonny is such a unique individual.
All right, guys, how's it going? Yes, I mean, I met Sonny a few years ago, and it was actually for a New Canoe photo shoot, and they said I was going down there with River Wolf, and I had no real clue, what I was getting into. All I had seen was some pictures of him, and he looked like a pretty intense dude. And they're like, you're going to go down, you're going to stay with River Wolf. And, man, we got down there, we went to the Florida Keys together, and, never had I met such a nice person in my life. I mean, he's truly very passionate about fishing. You can just tell he loved his family, loved his kids, loves his kids. And, yeah, we just had such a good time that ever since that day, we never really stopped talking. So, we went out, we caught some Goliath grouper, we caught sharks together in it. We started tarpon fishing under the bridges, and he just wouldn't let it go. I mean, sun was coming up. He's like, man, why are we going home? Like, well, we got to work today, so, but I mean, we just hooking tarpon, and he was so mad at me because I had a brand new pair of shoes on, and he was trying to land this tarpon, and I didn't jump in the water after it. And I told him afterwards, I said, well, I really didn't want to get my new shoes wet. And he got the fish, but he was pretty mad. I mean, he was not happy. But yeah, I mean, we miss having him here, and I'm glad his recovery's going well, and I can't wait to, talk with him again. I mean, literally just never met a nicer person in my life. And, it was really sad to hear the news about, his illness and everything, but, everything's looking more and more positive each day. So we're really glad to hear that. And like I said, I just wish he could be here. So,
Yeah. So if I could describe Sonny River Wolf in one word, it's intense. he's an intense fisherman. He's an intense husband now, and an intense dad. But he's also intense about being intentional. Where he's one of those people where he doesn't just passively. You don't just meet Sonny. Like you become intimately just tied to Sonny once you get a chance to meet him and hang out with him. He's been with us at ICast for the past few years, and you meet the guy, and 5 minutes later you're planning a fishing trip in the middle of the night. We're at ICast, and we're like, he comes walking up and he goes, "All right, we're leaving in 15 minutes. We're gonna drive 3 hours south in the middle of the night. We're gonna catch tarpon. We're gonna be back at like 4 or 5 in the morning, and then we'll be ready for the show." And it was not a question; it was a directive. Like, we're doing this, and we did it, and it was wild. We're we're running around on a boat that maybe we shouldn't have been on in that particular situation. And Sonny is literally like rodeo riding a new canoe being towed behind a center console, eating McDonald's in the dark, like surf. It was wild. But he's just one of those people where everything he does is intense. He doesn't do anything halfway. And it just it gets to you, but like in an incredible way. And so to have seen Sonny go through what he has in the last year now, I guess it seems like it's all happened really fast. But when something like that affects somebody that it doesn't just affect you. I mean, our entire brand has felt this. Our guys on the team, our dealers have gotten involved. To my knowledge, we're somewhere around like $75,000 that we've raised for Sonny and his family, and it's every dollar has been like just huge. We're so happy to do it. We continue to do it. We hope that if you guys are watching this, you can come alongside of us and help serve Sonny and his family, because he's doing better, but the fight's not over. So we want to make sure we stay on top of that. SaveRiverWolf.com. I believe there's still a GoFundMe going. So we just encourage you guys, if you're in a season where you can give, his family needs it, and he's one of those people who deserves the world. So we hope we can do that for him.
Yeah, well, I'll comment on a little bit about that too. Just kind of follow up on what they've already said. Is that it's obvious to a lot of us who have known and met Sonny and spent some time with him over the years that he's an extreme, genuine person. Man is full of love, full of information, willing and ready to talk to anybody about fishing, life, whatever it may be. Not to mention, he's an amazing father and a great husband. He talks about his family constantly. He involves his children. He takes them fishing. He's sharing the lifestyle and also publicating the lifestyle, putting it out there for others to see so they can follow in his likeness and see that it's capable and possible to take your kids fishing and share that adventure. And if you're as passionate as he is, it just becomes an organic part of your lifestyle and your family. And that's just something that he's done so well, and something that I admire, and something that a lot of people I feel like out there try to maybe replicate in some way, shape, or form. Just a lot of the things that we've done and spoke about just as two men speaking. He's been just a spiritual person, somebody that I can tell, my worst situation to, something that's maybe bothering me, and Sonny's going to have something to say that's going to be uplifting. He's going to maybe take your mind off of it. And that's just the kind of guy he is. He's, just a really well-rounded individual, somebody that I think that we all look up to as far as just his angling ability and his character. He's a guy that's going to always do what he says he's going to do. If he says he's going to do it, he's doing it. And that's 100% on who he is. And I love that about him. And yeah, he's an intense fisherman. He's an amazing fisherman. I've yet to fish with him, but I've seen all the content. I've seen a lot of the videos and pictures that he shares over the years. And it's just great. I would love to get on the water with him one day, but I'm so thankful for just the time spent with him here at the shows and just the conversations we've had over the phone. We both own the Honda 2.3. I was kind of curious about taking it out and getting one myself. Picked up the phone, answered all the questions I had about it. It was just a great conversation of just him trying to get me prepared to use an outboard and really the advantageous parts of doing everything that we could inside of that, and taking a kayak and an outboard in different places. But Sonny's just an amazing person. He means a lot to me personally. When I first met him, I think Everett introduced me to him. He's like, "Man, there's this guy I want you to meet." You're gonna love him. And as soon as we met, it was like, oh man, it was like too hot. Well, very similar. Just be lively, and I often can't find somebody that's willing to do some of the crazy things I want to do. And Sonny's right there in front of me doing it before me. So I love that. He's just an intense guy and fearless in a lot of regards, and an amazing singer. I remember we were here at ICast one day, and somebody had a guitar, somebody else was singing, and it was just a great atmosphere. And he's such a cool guy that he was able to just pick up that guitar at another booth that wasn't ours and just started strumming and singing. And people just started gathering around. His voice is amazing. Some of the music he's put out is so amazing. It's very meaningful to me because I feel like it talks about lifestyles and the things that we experience on the river. So I really, really just have all the best things to say about him, as we all do. And we really are praying for him, and we hope y'all are too. And if there's a way for you to support in any way possible, like Stewart, the fight isn't over yet. There's a lot of things that still need to be done. But financially, that would definitely help his family out and all the things that they're trying to accomplish with his health. So if there's anything you can do, please help. And SaveRiverWolf.com is still out there. And we love the guy. He's a great team member, a great friend, great father. And we're glad to have him. And hopefully we have him here soon next year.
So real quick, man, I know I was listening on the side here and you guys were kind of telling some stories and things like that. Like, did you guys cover the most memorable fishing moment with River Wolf? I mean, that's PG rated that we could do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
You guys covered all that?
I'll say.
All right.
So me and Sonny don't live that close either. We have some opportunities to fish down near here a few times, but it's more talking about fishing, talking about our experiences. So constantly he'd be on Lake Lanier overnight and I'd be working late and I'd be down, either trying to catch tarpon down here or catch redfish. And so I'd often call him with just a lot of despair when things weren't going my way. And, he always has good advice, and he wouldn't stop, even though it wasn't his situation, he would never stop thinking about it. He'd call me back the next day. He'd be like, man, I was thinking about how you said that fish wouldn't bite yesterday. And, what if you tried this? What if you tried this? And then he would yell at me. Well, why didn't you go fishing tonight, man? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, there is tarpon there. Like, and you didn't go? Oh my God. And he would just get, like I said, he'd almost be mad at me about it. But man, the stories he would tell me, like, he was just an amazing fisherman. He was born and raised that way. Tell me about longfin tuna fishing with his family up, I believe it was in Oregon or Washington, over on that coast somewhere, or it might have been California, but anyways, on the West Coast. And he was telling me stories how his father was a surf fisherman, and Sonny loved surf fishing. And, he was, like I said, born and raised into it. Tell me how his father used to bring him as a kid and shove him between the rocks of the of the jetties and stuff so his father could fish. And he would be cold and freezing and just jammed in these rocks of these jetties. And it's how, Stewart said he's intense, and Ray said he's fearless. He does stuff in his kayak that people wouldn't even do in a boat. The spots he fished. I'd be kind of scared to go with him, at some of his spots. So, but yeah, just like I said, a great dude, and just always had advice to give. Just so passionate about it all, and he's really passionate about the kayak fishing. So yeah. Anyone else?
It's unique, man, because we all have fishing stories, whether it be with our fathers, grandfathers, friends, things like that. It's like fishing is why we all come together, and everybody's got their own special, unique quirk or thing, and it's as this whole thing came up with Sonny, like I said at the beginning of this, like, I met him last year and it was like one of the nicest dudes I ever met, and the more and more I hear stories, it's the more and more I just want to go spend an hour with the guy on the water. You know what I mean? And, I think we can't say thank you enough to the fishing community. Like, that's one thing, like when a brother's in need or a sister, whatever it may be, we all come together to kind of help support each other and bring each other up. Obviously, with rivers conditions, like the financial aspect was huge, and so many people came out of the woodworks because Sonny just made them smile. You know what I mean? And he's such a unique individual. So, Sonny, if you're watching, man, we all love you. We miss you this year down at ICast, and we're here representing for you. You're definitely here in spirit and in our thoughts, and we can't thank all you guys enough. Between, you know, like Westbrook, who did the raffle with all the stuff for Sonny, all the people that helped on the GoFundMe page and things like that, man. It just goes to show how awesome the fishing community is. So today has been in honor of River, and we got one more podcast coming up later today. But we just, you know, if you guys can go, even send positive thoughts and vibes on that GoFundMe page. Like, I know that's very uplifting for Sonny, and it's a lot of encouragement for him to continue on and keep doing the rehab, keep getting better and better. And it's so awesome, because I know there was a point where it was like we didn't know what was going to happen, you know. And then he totally did a 180 and has just been working his way out and grinding and getting better every day, which is so cool to see. And we know we'll get you back on the water, brother, hooking up with some tarpon and all that good stuff, dude. So we're looking forward to it. Guys, gals, if you guys could go to saveriverwolf.com, like I said, a comment, $1, anything goes a long way to help out Sonny and his kids. And we appreciate all you guys that have helped thus far. So we'll see you guys back here about 3:00 here live at ICast 2022 in the New Canoe booth. Thanks, everybody. What's going on, New Canoe Nation? Welcome back once again. Final segment of the day here. You get myself. We're going to be talking about the transducer retract. This is something cool that we released last year at ICast. I've personally been using it a ton on the water. I got it set up on my boat. I wouldn't have it any other way. No more of the, you know, aftermarket arms with your transducer hanging in the water, slowing you down, getting hung up with weeds. Now everything in a new canoe can be hooked up to this system. You don't have to constantly take it on and off your boat, and it's a super small compact unit. So Brian, if you can kind of come in close here, we'll hit it from the top side. So basically what New Canoe did is a center scupper in the Unlimited, and we also have it on the Flint too. You have a unit, you got a screw top here, you got the locking mechanism. So when you pull your transducer up, swing it in there, it's locked upright, and it's going to keep it nice and up tight to the bottom of your boat. So if you're going over any kind of, you know, rocks, you know, lay downs, things like that, you're not getting hung up and ripping your transducer off the bottom of the boat. It also will retract on its own if you do forget to pull it up. So you just simply, when you get in the water and you take off, you release this rope and it drops down. And it drops down just enough where that transducer's underneath the boat. You're not getting any kind of feedback coming from the actual hull of the boat. Super simple system. It works with any transducer on the market. At New Canoe, our engineer James has toyed around with all the different transducers, whether you got a Lowrance, Humminbird, Garmin, Ray Marine. It'll work with any different kind of transducer. This is available right now through your dealer, through newcanoe.com. And when you go to order it, it's going to have a different kit with the different transducer that you have. So make sure if you're ordering it on newcanoe.com, in that drop-down box, you're putting what unit you have on there. So that way you get the right setup. Me personally, I run a Garmin, so I got to kind of have an extra sleeve screwed down to the back of my transducer so the cable sits out of the way and then comes straight up through that retract kit. And then you can see what Fletch did on this build here. This cable comes up. He used a Yak Attack through hull wiring kit, and all the extra cable is stored in the hull of the boat. I do a same exact thing on my boat. That's a nice thing about these wiring panels on the Unlimited. And then you could see the other half of the transducer cables coming out of that wiring kit and going straight to the unit. So it's just one more way that New Canoe has thought of something to keep your boats nice, clean, and you know, not, you know, keeping your clean deck, not having the arm hanging off the side of your boat, getting hung up on weeds or whatever it may be in the water as an intrusion. Not only that, but it helps you glide through the water. It's not slowing you down. As kayak fishermen, we always want to get to our spots, get our baits in the water, and it's just another way to make us get there, fish clean, and bring our boats back. The one thing I will mention is, like me, I wet launch on a trailer. Always make sure you pull that transducer up, just so that way it's not getting snagged on one of your bars or something like that. So that's the transducer retract. It's super simple, clean, efficient, available now. It'll work on your unlimiteds or your flints, and get them ordered up, guys. So this is the last segment of the day. We'll be back tomorrow. We got the pivot drive coming up tomorrow, and then our live Q&A with Blake Young. So make sure you drop your questions in, post them on the Facebook, the Instagram posts, videos. We're going to collect all those questions, and we'll get them answered from the man himself, the man behind New Canoe, Mr. Blake Young. See you guys here tomorrow. Again, Brian Schiller live from the New Canoe booth here at ICast 2022.